and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about iOS 16.4.1 features. This is an update that just came out last Friday, and we'll find out why. So this is Go for Lunch for April 11th, 2023, brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm Roger Harmon, your host. So we are here, as always, to make your technology work for you. This is National Pet Day, so give your pet a little extra attention, maybe another snack or treat to celebrate National Pet Day. So 16.4.1. So before we get into the exact features of this new update, let's talk about automatic versus manual updates. So when you get your device from Apple, the automatic updates are on by default. So we're going to talk about maybe the reason why you may want to turn that off and do your updates manually. And the story is this. Sometimes when an update comes out, it breaks things more than it fixes things. So if you want to avoid being on the bleeding edge of technology, you may want to turn off automatic updates and wait a little while to see if there are any problems. So what I do is I turn off automatic updates. I wait a couple of days or maybe even a week, and then I do a search on the internet for the version of the operating system. So in this case, it would be 16.4.1 problems. So I'll say, type in a search, are there any problems with iOS 16.4.1 or whatever the version of the software that you're inquiring about. So the results you get from that search will determine whether you do an update. So if you see a lot of conversation on the internet about problems, then you would want to wait, maybe even till the next update. And if you don't, then you know that it's okay to do that update. So unfortunately, Apple's become a very large company, and sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. The people that kind of had the big picture have either been promoted or they're retired, and Apple has been pretty good about making sure these updates come out. They have what they call the beta process. So the beta version of software is a pre-release. So they have a developer beta where the developers check the software, and then now they have a public beta which has been available for the last few years. So you would think with those two different beta programs that they would find all the bugs before they release, but there's so many combinations that it doesn't always work out that way. So let's learn how to turn off automatic updates. So on your iPhone and your iPad, you would go to Settings, General, Software Update, and Automatic Update. So let's fire up our iPhone here and see what that looks like. So we're going to unlock it. Okay, so on the left side of your screen is the direct image of the iPhone, and on this other side of the screen is actually a picture of the iPhone, so you can see where I am pointing. And that is at the settings icon here, the little concentric gears. Then we want to go down here to General, and then the second from the bottom, or from the top I should say, is Software Update, and it tells us here that iOS 16.4.1 is our current version, and that is up to date. So then we're going to click here on Download Only, and you can see Download iOS Updates is turned on. So the reason we want to turn on Download is because I have a little allergy problem today. That way the download is on your device and you don't have to wait for it to download and then wait for it to install. So you get part of the process already taken care of, and then when you want to do the install, you would turn on install iOS updates. Now this third section here is interesting. It's security responses and system files. So if we read that, it says automatically install rapid security responses and system files for iPhone and supported accessories. You may need to restart your iPhone to complete this installation. Some system files will always be installed automatically, even if security responses and system files is turned off. So if there is a security issue that needs to be corrected immediately, Apple will just push that out right away without asking permission, basically, because they think it is so critical. I need a security update on my throat. So that's the way that that works. So since we're talking about automatic versus manual updates, we should probably talk about doing it on the Mac. So if you're running the latest version of the Mac operating system, which is Ventura, and as you probably know by now, it's okay to update to Ventura because we're at 13.3. You would go to System Settings and General, and then Software Updates. And then up in the upper right hand corner, there's a little circle with a little lowercase I. You would click on that. So let's look and see what that works like, looks like, is like. Okay, so here we are in System Settings, which is the new name for System Preferences in Ventura. We click here on General, then Software Update, and so here we have an indication that macOS Ventura 13.3.1 is available. So we would click on Update Now. We're not going to do that right now, but it will tell you here under More Info in the small blue little link what is being updated. And as we will see, it's the same update here, the pushing hands emoji. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's another update that's just for the Mac OS, and that's the auto unlock your Mac with the Apple Watch may not work, has been fixed. So then you would go here to install now, but we're not going to install now. We're going to go back up here to the security updates in the upper right hand corner and click on the little I in the circle and look at our settings. So check for updates is turned on, download new updates when available is turned on, install is off, install for the App Store is off, and install security responses is turned on. So basically it's the same settings as we've seen before. Now, if you are still on Monterey or an earlier operating system where they used to, back in the olden days when they called it System Preferences, so you go to that, then you go to General and Software Updates, and then you'll see a screen like this. So we're here in Software Update. Now this was taken from a computer running Mojave, and the latest operating system it can accept is Catalina, so that's why that's there. Then here at the bottom you see that automatically keep my Mac up to date is not checked, so that means we're in the manual mode. So then you would click here in the lower right on Advanced, and we'll see the same types of settings we've already seen, where check for updates and download new updates when available are checked. Install is not, App Store is not, and this could be checked here, install system data files and security updates, but we did not check that. So, what are the actual updates to iOS 16.4.1, which did come out last Friday on the 7th of April? So, the pushing hands emoji now show the skin tone. So, you remember from last week we had the pushing hands emoji. So, we have the right pushing hand and the left pushing hand. And of course, you can put those together and get a high five, and those skin tones were not showing up. So some people were having a problem with Siri not responding, and they fixed that. Now there are security updates in 16.4.1, and these are what is known as active exploits, which means that hackers are actually using these to attack machines. So one of them is called IO Surface Accelerator, and the other one is not called WebKit, but it is a exploit of WebKit. WebKit is the underpinnings of Safari and other web browsers. So there was a vulnerability there that they fixed. So also, if you're on Big Sur or Monterey, there is a Safari update. So make sure and get that updated on your computer. And that's, of course, fixing this WebKit vulnerability. So whenever you see arbitrary code or actively exploited, you know it's time to update your device. So when you see the publication of an update and they're talking about either of those terms, that's a green flag, a go signal to do your update. So, kind of quick today. If you haven't already, please type any questions in, and we will get to those in just a second. And if you would be so kind as to share the GoFor Gazette, which comes to you every Monday morning about 7 o'clock with anybody you know that uses Apple devices. That way we can help more people. And if you are not receiving the GoFor Gazette, you can send me an email and I will add you to the list. And of course, you can go to our new custom URL, youtube.com/@GoForTechnology, no spaces, to pick up any of our programs that you missed or if you want to review. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed, please do by hitting the subscribe button down below and clicking the little bell so that you will be notified when we are live. So let's see who's here. So I'll get to Gretchen's question here in a minute. Leslie Ann says, mucho caliente aquí. Yep. In Tucson, if you're in Tucson, it's going to be, I think, 97 is the high today, 96, something like that. Hello, Bob. And so Leslie says she never updates unless Roger says to. So I do try to keep that information in the newsletter. So you can check there in the little tip and see when it's time to update. Hello, Diana. And hi, Carolyn. So let's see here. Okay, so let's go back up here and look at Gretchen's comment. So Gretchen is always reluctant to install updates because every update seems to change things that did work and no longer work. Well, that's exactly why we would do that internet search and see what the problems are, and then you can decide whether that's something that you can tolerate or you want to pass on that update and wait maybe for the next one that fixes that issue. And Susan says that she has always had automatic updates on, but it still asks me whether I want to update. I'm still on 16.3.1. Well, that's probably a good thing that it's not updating you automatically, so that's fine. And Gretchen is still looking for download only. My has download and install, does not have them separately. Okay, well that could be an older operating system. So just turn off automatic updates, and then you don't have to worry about that. And Leslie Ann says, you're on Monterey, and should you update? Excellent question. And the answer is unless you have a program that requires Ventura, or you hear about a feature on Ventura that you would like to use, then you're fine to stay on Monterey. So Bob says he updates iOS rather quickly because all applications are vetted by Apple. On his Mac, he waits much longer because not all applications are checked by Apple, and I still haven't updated to Ventura on his Mac. So that's right. And Bob does use a lot of applications that may have problems. Okay, so Bob says he will be updating to Ventura pretty soon as it's reached version .3. Well, Bob, it's there. It's .3.1. So Susan says she's still on Big Sur. She's happy with it, and she doesn't see anything in Monterey or Ventura that's exciting. So she'll update when she finds the time. Yeah, so you will update directly to Ventura. Apple doesn't allow you to operate update to an intermediate operating system. You always go to the latest. And Susan also says Apple updates earlier OSs, especially security. That's true. They do update about 4 versions back. So we're on 13 now, so they'll probably still update 12 and 11 and maybe one of the last 10 versions. But as you can see, they updated Safari for Monterey and Big Sur. And Deb, welcome, says she updated to Ventura, and these are look at all the new features. Yeah, so when you update to a new operating system, if you go to the Finder and go to Help, there'll be a little tutorial there on what's new. So that's a good place to start to see what is new in Ventura that you might want to take advantage of. And Diana says, I never find new features until I need something. Where are the new features? Well, that's a good place, like I just said, to look in the Finder, click on Help, and then click on What's New. I think it'll say what's new in Ventura or what's new in Mac OS. And of course, you can always do an internet search of what's new in Ventura, and you will be bombarded by articles from lots of different Mac publications outlining the new features. So, but I would start with the Help menu in the Finder and the What's New. And so Gretchen says, should I or can I update from Catalina? And it depends on how old your machine is. So if it's a 2000, if the Catalina update is not, if the Ventura update is not visible when you go to software update, then that means your machine will not update to Ventura. So that's the easy way to find out whether you can go to Ventura. And Deb says that she learned something here today. So that's always our goal when we do these, is that everybody learns something new. So great, glad to have you all here today. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that turning off automatic updates might save you some grief in the future. And I hope that Apple makes it so that maybe someday we can turn on automatic updates and be confident that the updates will be helpful and not break something. So, thank you. Have a great rest of your week. Come back and see us next Tuesday at high noon. And thanks for coming. If you have any questions, my contact information is on the next slide. And if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, you can contact me. So take care.